Ved, Pranam Mantra. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahano Bhunaktu, Saha Viryam Karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu, Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. We have been discussing life in Vedic times, how our ancestors lived, what their thoughts were. Going back to what the Vedas contain, the four Vedas. What exactly these are? We had explained in the beginning that sages who went into the depths of meditation, they gave us the way of life. And the way of life included earth and calm. That means how to earn wealth, how to maintain that, and how to enjoy life. Beyond these two, there was dharma, how to plan for exit from this physical universe, how to go to the high heavens, and finally, mukti. These four. Now, when you take this earth and calm, when we are discussing Vedic times, it includes those ideas related to wealth, earning it, preserving it, distributing it properly, because it's very important to distribute your wealth. Wealth is never meant for accumulation. When we say earth, earth implies wealth through right means. It's not only about earning, it's also about distributing. So we will be seeing a bit of all this. And when you have that wealth, you like to enjoy this life. Enjoying life means having a healthy life, having your relatives and friends and well-wishers around you. And when they depart, how you would wish for them. If you go through the Vedas, you'll find all this. But one very important word of caution. See, many people who have no idea about the Ved, what they do is they generally ask for all the volumes of the Vedas. It's a natural thing. I remember when I was young, I also had a desire to read all the Vedas. And there was an edition which was kind of low priced. So I wanted to purchase. Fortunately, I didn't have money because if I had purchased, I would have understood a thing and the whole thing would have just been a burden. It requires a lot of maturity before you can understand the content of the four Vedas. It's it requires some maturity. Obviously, it's not meant for everybody. I mean, what the Vedas say, that has been retold through various other works. But if you go directly, it's slightly difficult to grasp them. And secondly, they can be pretty repetitive. Now, when we say repetitive, they are not really repetitive in the sense that we understand, but you'll feel that, oh, hundreds of prayers for Indra, hundreds of prayers towards Agni, etc., etc. But those meaning are different. And secondly, which is something we have been discussing continuously. If you listen to our other talks, also you will see that when these great minds, that means those who lived on the banks of Sindhu and Saraswati, they went into the depths of meditation. Slowly, their mind got silenced. That is, mind at some level of purity, some level of silence. And then the reality that is behind this world, behind this existence, the reality that covers the face of the divine got exposed. And you could now see, I mean, those sages could now see more clearly what existence means, what this existence is all about, what life is all about, what is the face of God, what is God. The important thing to know here, and dear listeners, if you are serious about understanding the spiritual culture of India, you need to know that depending on what kind of mind, what kind of training you have, you will perceive the infinite, that is the divine, in that way. And your expression will be accordingly. We have been telling this thing repeatedly, but somehow people cannot appreciate that when we talk about, say, this pen, assuming that you have a fair knowledge of language and you have a very clear mind, that means you are not down with some kind of mental disease, and the organ of your sights and speech are okay, we can safely assume that the description that 10 of you give of this pen will be more or less the same. That's why when we were young, and there used to be questions like write an essay on the cow, favorite animal of the Indians, we would write more or less the same thing, because the understanding of a cow for all of us is more or less same. But that is not true of God. This is where the problem arises with every religion. It's beyond most of these religions, nearly all of these religions, to understand that God is not an entity, He is not a being who will be perceived in the same way by everyone. It's, you can simply say that these are the ill-informed people. It is immature. It's just immature to think that God is same to all. God is not same to all. Depending on your mindset, depending on what kind of culture you have grown up in, the actual perception of God in the depths of meditation will differ. So, when we have gods like, say, Indra and Agni and others, the sages who are praying to them, those prayers will be different. If you have been listening to our talks, you must have realized one thing, that what these sages said is not simple poetry. It is much more. It's a state of realization described in certain words. You take help of those words and slowly you move towards that particular realization. Even then, your realization will be different from what these sages have given you. Unless you are a born Hindu, or unless you have really worked very hard with some very good Hindu teacher, you cannot understand nor can you appreciate this. No, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. So, continuing with that series, we have been describing how the life was in Vedic times, or a small picture of, just a small picture of how the Vedas look at life. So, we will start with importance of charity, dana stuti, and then from there to get rid of poverty. See, hunger is such a demand. Hunger for anything. Nowadays, I hear in sports and other things. In cricket, they will say he has such hunger for runs. What do you mean? Why should you have hunger for runs? You are a player. Your job is to give the best and leave the rest to to your destiny, to your karma, to God. What do you mean by hunger for runs? desire the way we understand, calm the way we understand. This hunger is a very bad thing. It can only harm you, and it can harm people who are around you. However, when it comes to physical hunger, that means an empty belly, when there is poverty, when you have children, when you have your own family members back home with nothing to eat, life can turn you into a devil. The ancient ideals that we get in Mahabharata and other places where even hungry people donated everything of theirs. I don't know how far it's true, because there's a story of Mudgal Rishi who died of hunger but kept on gifting away what he had earned for his own food. It's a long story in Mahabharata. I don't know how far these are true. This may be difficult. Durvasa sage Durvasa, is very famous for his anger. He was trying to test this Mudgal Rishi, sage Mudgal. And then he said, "You are a great person, Mudgal, because it's so difficult to live with the fire of hunger in one's belly." Those of you know something about history, you know that how French Revolution took place simply because there was too much of hunger. Any wise king, anywhere in the world will make sure that his people, or rather their people, they do not suffer from too much of hunger. Because if there is too much of hunger, there is bound to be revolution. No one can stop it. There will be loot, there will be robberies. And now, of course, today's society, more than hunger, it has become comparison. When you see someone who is rich and someone who wants to be rich but is not able to earn that wealth, there will be loot, there will be robberies. We also have that famous story of Vishwamitra in Mahabharata, where he stole a dead dog's meat because he was so hungry, he had nothing to eat. All this require earning of wealth and regulating it. And that is where charity becomes very important. Those who have wealth, they have to donate. Charity is very important. And in different religions, like in Islam, there is a wonderful system where 2.5% of your wealth you are supposed to donate. And here in India, we talk about Panch Mahayagya, where this making of gift has to be done in the name of the divine, in the name of your dead ancestors, in the name of the society and the animals. You have to do, because in any society, some people will be rich and many others will not be that rich. Now, if the rich do not give their wealth, if they do not donate a part of their wealth, there will be instability. As far as our own life is concerned, our own personality is concerned, we grow through gifting. Gifting is very important, because when you make gifts, you become more inclusive. Nowadays, this children's party where you have birthday parties and these things have become quite common. But that's more to show off your status. The ancient custom in India was, on your birthday, on your special days, you went to feed the poor, you made gifts, you donated to the temple, and You, in general, you made gifts. But nowadays, the whole thing has become, just showing off and status symbol, things like that. The India is still a poor country. There are still many poor people, deprived people. So it's very important that we make charity. In fact, India should think of having a general trust for the welfare of the Hindus, where people can donate, and from where money can be used for the welfare of the poor. But we were discussing the spiritual aspect of charity. So there is a very famous couplet in Hindi where Rahim was a great poet. He says, a person who goes asking for help, asking for alms, is a dead person. But one who refuses him dies much before him. It's a spiritual death. If you don't help the needy, even though you may be having enough of wealth, see, usually people have something that they can give away. But if you don't, you are a dead person. Now here it is the Anustuti from Rig Veda, 10th book. 10th book is a wonderful book of Rig Veda. There is so many different kinds of hymns there. It says 117 hymn. This 10th book 117 is the hymn number, and the first one. Here is a poor Brahmin. He's going about asking for help and expecting some help. But there is never an ideal society. In spite of Islam asking its adherents to donate 2.5% of their wealth for the welfare of the people. In India, we also have a thing called Waqf Board. You can see the number of Muslim beggars all around. Wherever you go, Muslim beggars. Allah ke naam di. So whatever is happening to all that money, the charity that is being made. The idea is that at the end of the day, people end up being miserable. There's that famous Christian charity. Christians are supposed to be extremely charitable, but there also you find poor people. In Christian countries, there are poor people. However, what we get in the Ved is philosophically so beautiful. Nava udevakshudam vadham daduh uta asitam upa gachanti mrityavaha uto rei pinuto nop dasyati uta apranin marditaram na vindati. This is ancient Sanskrit. That's why you cannot understand the words. The philosophy behind it is so beautiful. The gods have not ordained hunger as death. Hunger should not be the cause of death. How I wish that those who are trying to do good to this society pick up a statement like this and make the motto of their movement from this statement. The gods have not ordered hunger as death. Why? Because even to the well-fed, death comes. If you want to understand a system, whatever a system, if you want to understand a system, look at the point where it breaks down. So if you treat life as a system, you have to see where it breaks down. Life breaks down when a person dies. What causes death? Well, you will say disease causes death. But no, healthy people also die. During 1940s, There was a famous Bengal famine when millions died. It was all because of mismanagement by the British. Hunger killed millions. But the welfare also died. When so many people were dying, so many people were dying of hunger, there were rich also were dying. That means hunger cannot be the normal cause of death. There are many people who die in a war, but not everybody dies in a war. Now, if you look at life as a machine that works, you just have to look for the point where it breaks. So, all these things like hunger, disease, war, these cannot be the real cause of death. Real cause of death is something different. It is that different thing which causes death is what we need to find out. That is where science fails. And that is where religion steps in. Normally people think that science removes this blind faith of the religion. Now in India we have some laws like banning the ill practices and blind faith, etc., etc., witchcraft and all those things. But the fact is, where science fails, religion steps in. Religion gives the right explanation. This makes religion extremely powerful. Whenever there is power, there will be cheating. There will be fake. In Turkey, there was a time when this gold coin used to be faked. Instead of 100% or whatever that percentage, there will be little less. That was a way to cheat. In Britain, it was a common practice to rub the coins, on some hard surface and extract the precious metal, particularly the gold coins. So Newton was requested by the treasury. He was head of the treasury. So he started that marking on the side. You might have seen, even today it's practiced, marking on the side. But of course, now this metal used in these coins, it's not that valuable, that precious. If religion is that powerful, that it can explain death, naturally there will be people who would be faking to be religious. It's very natural. And then blind faith and all other things follow. If there is a true spiritual person, he will always advise you to be rational. It's only after a point that you have to leave your mind behind, not in the beginning itself. So this poor Brahmin, he says, Utori pinto no padasyati, the riches of the charitable never diminish. That's a very interesting thing. It's not something sentimental, it's a fact. I have a feeling, I may be wrong. Now, this is something where I say I'm wrong. A lot of things in life is like a canal. A pipe. If you block it, the water gets blocked, or whatever is flowing gets blocked, and after a time it starts stinking. To stop that stinking, you have to remove that block. And once you remove that block, things start flowing. So as you spend, money also comes. Sri Ramakrishna also says at one place that if a person has made good charity in previous births, then in this life they have wealth, etc. That's common saying in India. So it may not be from Sri Ramakrishna as such, but just a common expression that he might be using. However, religion does not say that you gift away or you donate everything that you have. What it says that you should donate a part of it. I personally say that what you can do for 100 rupees, you can do for 95 too. The difference will not be much. But if you just donate 5% of your earning, 5% of your wealth, many people will be benefited. Try doing it. So he says, the riches of the charity will never diminish, while he who will not give finds no consoler. Because life is such that good and bad time always come, always keep coming to everyone. Whether you are rich, you are famous, you are a politician, you are a powerful person, whatever you might be, you will have your time and you will have your bad time. And when there is bad time, you want to lean on some people, you want support. And then you find that there is no one for you. There's a very famous saying that when a person is taken for funeral or burial, how many people join in that procession shows what kind of person he was. People who criticize Gandhiji, they fail to say, they will never mention that when Gandhiji had died, more than 6 million people, 60 lakh people in Delhi had joined the procession. You know, please do not take it personally, but just think of all those people who might join your funeral procession, and then you will know how good life, what kind of life you have been living. That's a very interesting thing. How well you live your life actually gets revealed only after you die. How many people come and join your funeral procession? However, that's the last thing. But before that, if you have some kind of crisis, how many people come and stand by your side? This is a very famous saying. I don't know by whom. It's something like, if you want to move fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, take along as many as you can. If you want to go far in life, you must have many people with you. So says this mantra from Rig Veda says, a miserly person finds no consoler. These are quotable quotes. In fact, I would suggest you people start your blog and take these quotable quotes and put there. After a few verses, Mogham annam vindate apracheta satyam brabhimi vada itsatasya. Narya manam pusyati no sakhayam kevalago bhavati kevaladi. I speak the truth. The Brahmin says, the man with unclear wisdom acquires wealth in vain, since it is death for him. A wise person will always regulate their wealth. Always. If you are not a wise person, you will simply keep it locked somewhere. And if you keep it locked somewhere, it's of no use. I was talking to a friend, and then I was laughing at the fact nowadays it has become customary for people not to get married. Both boys and girls, they want to feel the freedom. They want to be achievers. They indeed achieve a lot, earn a lot. And then what will they do at the end? The wealth has to be given away to this or that person. Ultimately, it's of no use to you. And if you had been charitable all your life, you would have seen many trees bloom, many trees bloom. If your wealth is given away after your death, you don't even see who all are getting benefited. You should be giving it away or a part of it even while you are alive so that you see some careers being made, bringing smile to some faces like that. But you cannot expect people to be that wise. No, you cannot. Rigved goes on to say, he serves neither God nor a friend. He who eats alone is a mere sinner. Very powerful words. Dear friends, dear listeners, it was customary in India to have guests when you are eating. It says, he serves neither God nor a friend. He who eats alone. Make it a practice. Keep a box. Make it a practice to put some money in that box every time you have food. When you go to a hotel, you leave some tip. Sometimes they get exalted name like service charges. Just like that. Service charges. Your service charges to the society. Give 5 rupees, give 10 rupees per day, 100. Mano, just decide on a number. And at the end of the month, donate that money somewhere. Because now you won't have guests at home. And when there are guests at home, generally they are invited for a purpose. Generally, you want to socialize, you want to make connections, you want to have connections, and you feel that these people will be helpful to me when I am in crisis, and that is why you invite them. But atithi means somebody who arrives at your home unexpected, uninvited. Now, such people cannot be even allowed to enter these days in a city, in a town, because you don't know what kind of person that might be. But if you go to the rural areas, they still have that practice where beggars come, where some sadhus come, they sing some songs, they say some words of wisdom to householders because the householders cannot learn all these things on their own, and something is given to them. But why should you give up that practice? So, what you can do is every time you eat, just before eating, put some money in a box at the end of the month. Donate that. Just decide what institutions, what organizations try to serve people. There might be orphanage, there might be old age home, things like that. You decide where to send that money. So that's something about charity and how we move over to getting rid of poverty. This is also from Rigved 10th book. It's about a Lakshmi Gna. Lakshmi is the word for prosperity and wealth. And when you say Lakshmi, it means absence of Lakshmi. Much later, somebody coined the term Daridriya as a goddess for Lakshmi. But the common word is Lakshmi, prosperity and lack of prosperity. Lakshmi. So this Lakshmi has to be destroyed. Gna is for destruction. When we were discussing this issue of charity, we discussed how there's a poor Brahmin going around asking for help and he's not getting help. So here it says that poverty, oh poverty, leave me alone. Just get out of my life. Arai kane vikate girim gaccha sadanve. Shire bisthasya sattvabi tebhistva chatayamasi. So Rigved 10, 155, 1 says, there is Shrim Bitter. Shrim Bitter is a sage. He's commanding. Being a sage, he can command. And he's commanding that Lakshmi to get out. Oh, miserly. What are the qualities of this Lakshmi? Arai or Rai. Rai means wealth. Arai is lack of wealth. Rai, Arai. Miserly. Kane. Vikate. That is evil looking, deformed, and ever screeching. So Lakshmi, females are very often addressed as Lakshmi. They have to be just opposite of these. They should look prosperous. Sometimes people come to visit me, and whenever I see a lady not dressed properly, not having ornaments, I always request them to put on those things properly, regularly, or rather always. Because every female in India is seen as the living representation of goddess Lakshmi. If I am a monk, I have to dress like a monk and I have to behave like a monk. If you are Lakshmi, you have to dress like that and you have to behave like that. Prosperous. Living ideal of prosperity. So, Araim Kahane Vikate Girim, so opposite of that. And you have to be very soft spoken, pleasant speaking. Anybody who listens to you should feel soothed. Nowadays, when I see these modern females doing all these strange things, first thing that comes to my mind, whatever they might be, they definitely do not represent Lakshmi. They are not the image of Lakshmi. No, they are not. So what will happen to them? Well, they are going towards their ruin. The problem is, if they went to ruin, there was no problem. The thing is, the society runs entirely due to them. Female are the most important, they're the flywheel of the society. The way a flywheel makes the entire machine, entire factory run, just like that, a society runs entirely due to its females. And if they are not behaving like Lakshmi, you can imagine what will happen to that society. So I'm not worried about what happens in Europe and America because they have their own ideals. Here in India, I'm worried. So he says, go to the hill that is your home, distant hill. That means this is not the place for you. Just go away from here. I, Sirimbita, who is a sage, will destroy you. How? By sacred acts. By pronouncing Vedic mantras, Vedic hymns, by performing yajna. When I was young, on Kali Puja, in our area it was done on Kali Puja. Kali Puja and Lakshmi Puja, they were on the same day. And in different areas, that means different localities of the country, different regions, they have different days. And on that day, the custom was to burn some jute sticks in the evening. And every male member would somehow hold to that and will keep on praying, "Oh, Alakshmi, get out of this house. May Lakshmi enter here." When I, when I was a kid, I found it so funny. Now I realize the importance of it. The whole thing that, see, the practice is coming from the Vedic times. So many things in India, apart from, sorry, just if you can live out what the Muslims and Christians have imposed on us, the practices in India, so old, 8,000, 10,000 years old. It's coming from the Rig Veda itself. I, Shirimbita, the sage, I'll destroy you. How? By the power of my holy axe. Nowadays, so many books are coming up on power of positive thinking and how to be a winner, etc. Positivity is my birthright. It's a negativity, that is superimposed on us. The best, the best way to explain it, imagine you are standing in front of a mountain, and if you put a coin before your eye, you won't be able to see the mountain. Coin is such a small thing, mountain is such a huge thing, and yet the coin has the capacity to hide the mountain from your sight. Why? Because the coin is nearer to you. If you want to see the mountain, if you want to see the moon, you only have to get rid of that coin. You have to remove that coin. Positivity is in our nature. It's like seeing the mountain on a clear day. Just need to get rid of your negativity. How do you get rid of negativity? Through religious acts. That's the best way. Look at India. You won't have a country more religious than India. No way. It's not. There's simply no country that is as religious as India. Invaders came from the West. They looted us like anything. Who are the looters? Those who are suffering from poverty. They became rich by looting us. And then the invaders came from the eastern side too, in Bengal, in Madras, etc., the British. And they kept on looting us till nothing was left. And when they left in 1947, India was a poor country. So a new term was coined because we couldn't be termed with the real poor countries. They're called developing nation. Today, on this day, 9th August 2024, India is practically the fourth or fifth largest economy in the world. Why? Some 70 years ago, we were such a poor country. In 1960s and 70s, I have seen the face of poverty. Whole India reeled under poverty. In less than 50 years of that time, I'm seeing affluence everywhere. I mean, we are not as affluent as, say, Americans, but we are not as poor as we used to be. How we succeeded? When our neighbors have been sinking into poverty, how we succeeded? Simply by the power of religion. Indians have been religious people. By their sacred acts, they succeeded in driving away this Alakshmi every time it was brought to us by these invaders. Some of them were religious invaders, some of them were economic invaders, but invaders they were. And ultimately, every invader tramples upon your prosperity, on your freedom. Whatever good they might have done, let's not get into that. The fact is that India was left an extremely poor country in 1947. People were dying like flies. We can't imagine such a situation today in India. Whereas so many countries in the world are suffering. You cannot attribute it simply to scientific development, etc. Then people wouldn't have suffered so much of poverty in different African nations and in many other places. How to drive them away? How to drive this Alakshmi away? In the same hymn it says, Ado yaddaru plavate sindho pare apurusam tada rabaswa durhano tena gaccha parastaram. Says, the wood that has no owner, floating by the far off shore. Imagine a river and a piece of wood is floating by. Says, it has no owner. Take that and go to a distant shore. Oh, difficult to be destroyed. Parastaram. Parastaram. Go to a distant shore. And there is Durhano. Durhano, Hana is destruction, Durhano, that which cannot be destroyed easily. Durhano, Parastaram. Go away. How will you go away from here? Take that plank of wood. I somehow find it very funny. When I read it, this verse for the first time, I found it so funny that, oh Alakshmi, don't take anything that is owned by somebody. Take that piece of wood which belongs to no one and which is floating on the other side of the river. Take that, go away from here. Just leave us. If Alakshmi is out, prosperity being our nature, because all strength is within us. All prosperity is within us. Only Alakshmi has to be driven out. And the best way to drive it out is through sacred acts. That's why I keep on requesting our dear listeners to perform Pancha-Mahayagya. We have discussed it many times. Pancha-Mahayagya every day. To recite Devi Mahatmya, known as Chandi and Durga Sapshati, regularly. Gita regularly. Pancha-Mahayagya incorporates daily worship. If you have a daily worship in house, that itself creates a lot of positivity. Alakshmi, which might have entered your house and which might have entered your psyche, your personality, has to be driven out. How? Through sacred acts. So, Ved will not give us the ways to acquire wealth through economic means and this and that. They are always talking from the religious standpoint. And well, that's it. And we have some more, but I think we will have to stop it, because after this we have some mantras from about one's love for God. But we will take up one prayer for the departed soul. How to pray for the departed soul. Otherwise, there is about how to destroy bad dreams, etc. We can drop that. You can read that in the book Veda Vihangam. So we are slowly coming to the end. Next day we will have discussion on loving God, different aspects of loving God. Thank you. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.